everybody, welcome to my channel. This is Dr. Neil Boumpani, and my site is yourchildseducation.com, saving your child from the failed public school system. Now, before we get into today's topic, what do you believe and why do you believe it? I want to share with you a thought that I'm going to try to keep at the front of all my videos. And that idea is condemnation before investigation. Let me ask you a question. Are you the kind of person who will simply dismiss what another person might say because it doesn't align with your personal, spiritual, or political beliefs? I've seen this over and over. One person mentions an idea, and before that person can even finish the sentence, the other person has a defense, even though no defense might be called for. Very few people seem to listen to what others have to say, think about it, and almost nobody's willing to take the time to really consider that idea or try to look into it, find out if there might be validity in the other person's ideas. Most people will simply condemn any thought or idea that does not align with their group ideology. Face it, we're group people. If you're on the right, you're on the left, you tend to want to side with everything there. I hope that some of you are not like that. So what kind of person are you? I hope you'll give me the chance to share my thoughts with you. Because what I want to do is I want to help your children, and maybe some of you, to get over what this country has done to education. All right, let's move back to our subject. What do you believe, and why do you believe it? This is not about a person's faith, but it can apply to that part of one's life. This is about everything a person believes. Are you on the right or the left of the political spectrum? Can you explain why? Where do you stand on hot-button issues like abortion, climate change, teaching kindergarten children about sex, etc.? And can you explain why you take these positions? Do you believe that the mainstream media is honest with American people? And can you explain why or why not? If you can answer some or all those questions, let me ask just one more. Can you sit down with someone who holds an opposite view from yours and have an intelligent, open conversation based on facts? This is a question that is going to drive home my point. Think about that for a second. Most people are thinking right away, if somebody comes up, let's say you're on the left and somebody from the right comes up and says, well, I'm really against, this or that. And right away, you're not listening. You're thinking you want to let them know that you don't believe their side of the story, whatever. All right. Let's consider, have you ever asked this, why do people believe things? It's my contention and my belief that we believe the things we do mainly because it is what we have been taught. Especially true for younger people. I'm not talking about only our schooling. I contend that our beliefs are formed from school, parents, friends, media, our leaders, other people we may respect. Now, ask this question now. What if we've been taught things that may not be true? Please note, in my conclusion, I'll explain how public education is a huge role in conditioning all of us. Ultimately, my website will be about our failing educational system and how parents can still save their children even if their children must remain in the public schools. And again, my website is here, www.yourchildseducation.com. All of the videos that I have will have articles posted on my website. You're free to comment on them. I have a discussion area. I'm hoping people can come together with ideas so we could help each other. And maybe, just maybe, we could make a difference, at least in a few lives. Well, here's a question for you. Why is America so divided? If what we believe is based on what we are taught, and America is so divided in so many ways, should we all take stock of what we have been taught? Perhaps we've been listening to voices from only one perspective. Most of us have gone to school, yet so few of us seem to be able to consider different sides of an argument. There are people that only watch Fox News or only watch CNN. Do you watch both sometimes? Do you consider and think about it? Personally, and I don't want to get into this right now, but I think they're two sides of the same coin and they exist to keep us apart, but none of that now. Okay, we're at a point in our history where civil war is very possible. I might argue that there are those who really want this. That's for another time. Those of us who have lived at least 40 to 50 years might remember a time when our government worked through debate and discussion and oftentimes came to compromise. Never easy, And sometimes there was an impasse, but for the most part, this is how we move forward. This is the way our government was set up with its balance of power in the first place. Was it not? Why then is this not happening today? We have gotten to the point where compromise rarely exists. The policy decisions are being made by individuals or individual departments within government, maybe without government. And interestingly enough, when was the last time you heard about this on the news? There are things just being told to us that we have to accept. And why are we not raising more questions? All right. I suggest that, especially over the last 20 years or so, the idea of discussion and compromise has been lost. However, it was not the American people who are responsible for this situation, although we have become unwitting participants in it. Looking out of the political landscape, you may agree that those who supported Donald Trump are deplorables who want the country to revert back to slavery and push non-heterosexuals back to the closet. Or you may believe that he was putting our country on the right path. You may be in one of these camps, but let me ask you something. Why? Have you talked with somebody on the opposite view and tried to find out why they see things different? Can you give them the facts of why you believe it? What I hear so often, let's just take that example of Trump or whatever, say, well, all of a sudden you talk to somebody about Donald Trump and say, oh, he's a racist. Well, okay, give me some examples. Or what did he do? Show me. Let's talk about what people have done or what they haven't done. Can you do that? Have you tried to seek out the facts behind what they said or even what they believe? Have you examined your own views in this way? We have become a society of parrots who simply say what we have been conditioned to say. It is true that we can have a deep, abiding faith in what we believe, but does that alone make it true? Well, according to the new paradigm, if you feel it's true, it must be, but only if you are on the correct side of the issue, of course. Yes, that's where we've gotten so far. Have you heard this? Well, it's individual's truth. Your truth might not be my truth. I always thought, and I want you to think about this, maybe you could tell me I'm wrong, but something's either true or it's not. If I say this wall is white and you say it's red, well, it's only going to be one or the other. That's what I'm talking about. Opinion has taken the place of truth. Okay, so why is this? I would point mainly to our political leaders and the media, but more importantly, those behind them who hold the purse strings, I believe, are really the villains here. The ideological divide has been coming for a while, but I think we can agree that we saw the worst of it when Donald Trump took office. Now, I'm not laying the blame on Trump, although he has a stake in it. I'm saying that the response by those on the left also contributed to the polarization of society. Of course, there were those on the right who did the same thing when Barack Obama was president. We're all to blame here. Let's forget whether we think one side was right or not. Let's look at the reaction. There were people rioting the streets. Celebrities like Kathy Griffin demonstrated a level of bitterness I don't remember ever seeing for any political leader. Mainstream news was on a 24-hour-a-day quest to destroy Trump. If you think that I'm trying to convert you, please do not stop listening yet. Forget the person we are discussing as Trump and pretend it's somebody else. The fact that a person like Trump so upset those in power that their sole purpose became to remove this person and forget everything else. Forget about everything else. Don't compromise. Just let's get rid of him. That has to make you think sometimes. All right, let's go on. Okay, whether or not you supported this past president, do you think constant, nonstop attacks were warranted on him? Or anyone for that matter? We do know many of the things which he was accused of really were untrue. Again, I'm not asking you to love Trump. I'm not asking you to look at the way he was constantly portrayed in the media and ask if anyone deserves such treatment, let alone the President of the United States. There were things that Trump actually accomplished, but these things were never covered. There were a lot of jobs created. America was more energy independent. The Abraham Accords started to pave the way for a more peaceful Middle East. Now, if this had been someone else on the left, they would have got a Nobel Prize. Even if you hated Trump and believed that he deserved bad press, can you support why you believe he deserved it? That's a question that I've been asking people. My condition that we have been conditioned by our teachers, who include all the people we talked about before, to believe what we are told. This is not a new idea, after all. Religions have practiced this for centuries. I know Democrats who will never support a Republican candidate or idea. I know Republicans who will never support a Democratic candidate or idea. Yet, if a Democrat brings up an idea that might have previously been forwarded by a Republican, or vice versa, these diehard people will be the first to accept it. I remember sharing someone with one of these diehard people, and the person was shocked at the idea or event, believing it came from the other side. You can see this all, you can go on the internet, you'll find this all the time. When a person finally realizes that it was someone on their side, maybe negative, then the discussion sort of ends. I believe that even if an angel from heaven appeared to such people and told them they were wrong, they'd probably walk away saying he doesn't know what he's talking about. See, we have so much hatred in this country of somebody who doesn't think like us. When in history has the world ever thought along one line? Now, I had never been deeply political, and there was even a time when I actually believed that our votes did not count. It was after Trump was elected that I started to think that we might still have, maybe, a say in our government. After all, no one expected Trump to win. I am and always have been an independent who has voted for individuals of both parties. I can truly say that I like neither party. Still, I have always tried to see the positive in leaders of both parties, even though I've lost faith in the ability of our political leaders to serve the people of America. I believe that far too many of our elected officials are on the same side, and they're driving our country to Marxism. You can call it socialism, but if you know Marx, you know what I'm talking about. And they're putting on this show for the rest of us. We're at each other's throats because of it. When I finally realized that party lines were, for the most part, meaningless, I gave up on hoping our elected officials would actually serve us, especially in education. I would suggest that you read a 1970s book called None Dare Call It Conspiracy by Gary Allen. Allen was a self-professed liberal who set out to prove wrong the conspiracy theorists of the day. And what he found was shocking, and many of the things he predicted have actually taken place. Check it out. It's not a long book, not a hard read. So, how does education fit in? We're all aware that ideas like critical race theory and gender identity are causing great unrest. I do believe that schools should address racism and teach children to treat each other respectfully, no matter how different a person might seem. But it seems like extremists have taken ideas like equity and social justice and poisoned the mind of our children. Let's just look at these two, gender studies and critical race theory. Let me first say that I, like many of people I know, if a person wants to change their gender, call them whatever they want, that's one thing. That's up to them, okay? It's what the problem exists when we're teaching very young children who can't even comprehend the concepts that they might not be who they think they are. And I'm going to talk about that in another article. Let's go on here anyway. Many of us do not understand why children in all elementary grades must be exposed to anything having to do with sex. First of all, every teacher knows, or should know, that young children cannot process this level of information. All educators have studied Bloom's taxonomy of human development, among other theories of human development. The first level begins with remembering information, then moves through comprehension, application, analysis, synthesis, and evaluation. And children grow in these levels. So when children are exposed to levels that they cannot cognitively process, there are usually two outcomes: total dismissal or confusion. Now, if they hear it once or twice, they can dismiss it. If they hear it all the time, that's when confusion sets in. Elementary children, for the most part, will become confused. We used to marvel at children's abilities to play and be creative. Today, many of them are being confused by introducing them to ideas that can lead to widespread gender dysphoria. If a child has gender dysphoria at some point, then solution could be presented. Matter of fact, if you read the research, it's usually males between 2 and 4, and they usually are very adamant about it. Okay, it's never been teenagers, and those children, those between 2 and 4, it's 0.101% of the population, some minuscule amount, and most of them either outgrow it. Some might be gay, some others outgrow it. A few of them do, when they get of age, have the surgery. Today, children are being confused with these ideas, with advocates insisting that when a child states some confusion, the schools and sometimes the courts should step in and take away parental rights in the matter. Parents have tried to protest, but they're shut down, and even labeled terrorists by the Biden administration. And you know this. Some people have tried to get their children to opt out of classes teaching these topics, only to find out, this may surprise you, that this topic, the topic of all these radical topics, are being taught in all the subjects that you can't have your child opt out of. That's why I always say at the end of my videos, and I'm going to say it now, get your kid out of the public schools, if at all possible. So why is this even being taught? Subjects like understanding gender fluidity have not been tested or researched to suggest that do not have negative effects on children. Secondly, and more importantly, the decision whether or not to teach this subject in elementary school was never discussed or debated in the public forum, let alone in government. The more you examine many of the controversial topics of today, the more you will find that many of today's educational trends have been decided by a small group of people without the benefit of rigorous testing, discussion, or debate. In other words, we are being told our children will be taught, regardless of any typical educational standards, regardless of what we believe, just sit back and accept it. To add insult to injury, if we do not like it, we're just told to shut up. If we raise a question, we're labeled transphobic or homophobic by the parrots in the educational system, who only repeat what they've been told. Does this not bother you, regardless of your political views? Debate is shut down by simply branding opponents with names. Those who do not accept sex education in kindergarten are labeled homophobic or transphobic. Have you asked somebody why these children have to be taught that? Oftentimes, when a parent does seek clarity from school administration or boards, they are simply shut down. There are plenty of videos up on YouTube and other venues where parents ask school boards about the reasons for teaching this stuff they're teaching, and most of the time, parents allowed to speak, then there are no answers given by the board, on to the next person. I've even seen school board meetings shut down because they didn't want to deal with the issues, or people might have gotten too passionate. Well, it's your children. You're going to get passionate about your children. Then there's the issue of critical race theory. I'm going to do a longer article on this, but first I would like to ask those of you that support this, have you read the book? Most have not. I did. I made sure that when I started hearing about it, I wasn't going to listen to what anybody else had to say. I went and I got the book and I read it. I'm going to be doing a multi-series expose going through the book. So young people are being told that if we ban CRT from our schools, we become Nazi book-burning white supremacists. See, there's no in between. It's black or white, to use a saying. These people may be even well-meaning and believe that they are right, but few, if any, have any idea of what the theory states. They will not listen to any alternate view because this is what they've been taught over and over again. Remember, as Hitler stated, repeat a lie over and over again, and people will eventually believe it. I'm going to please ask you to see another article I have on my website, and I'll have a video about it soon, entitled The Hitler Doctrine. So what is really the goal of those at the top who are pushing these ideas? I've read enough to believe that it seems like they only want to continue to divide our society. Young people are taught that the reason many poor African Americans remain in poverty is due solely to white supremacy. But they never examine any other factors. And again, I'll be presenting more papers on CRT, like I said. Should society be concerned with the issues facing the educational outcome among African American students? Well, I hope so, as well as other minorities. I say yes. But I'm going to tell you, critical race theory is not the answer. Matter of fact, it doesn't even give an answer. As I will demonstrate, CRT is actually hurting many young African Americans because it's causing schools to lower standards for minority students, and then in essence for all students. So if young minorities in poverty are failing in schools, what does making school easier do for them? This process simply makes it harder for these students to compete in the world once they get a diploma. If a person can't read or communicate effectively, what kind of jobs are open to them? Okay, now of course, this is one reason why the far left is pushing Marxism, with help from many on the right, by the way. But even the Marxist society, people who can't read, write, or communicate do not get placed in jobs where these are requirements. In society where people actually receive a good education that encourages critical thinking, Marxism will never take hold. Still, because someone questions critical race theory, that person is branded as a racist or white supremacist, and discussion is closed down. As my site grows, I hope we can find ways of actually addressing the problems instead of just trying to place blame. As I stated before, if we teach our youngest children to respect the differences of other people and learn to be fair, we're doing a far better job than what's happening right now. People on the left are pushing hate in our children. When children get to the point where they can comprehend the various views on sex and gender, Hopefully their earlier teaching on respecting others will be part of their general outlook. We always taught our daughters not to judge people, to be decent to everybody, to show respect, and expect it in return. Let's go on. This does not mean that children have to agree with the views of others, but they should be tolerant. Is this not the very foundation of our freedoms and liberties? For years, many from the left have been calling for tolerance. Is this not correct? I agree with tolerance. But does not tolerance from the extreme left extend to those who do not agree with their views? You already know the answer to that. If you do not agree 100% with them, you're not going to get heard. Here's my conclusion. When I went to school, we were taught the story that George Washington chopped down his father's cherry tree, and when he was asked about it, admitted it because he could not tell a lie. We're taught a lot of things like that. And they're far different from what is taught today, but still, it's not true. Of course, no one buys the idea that Washington was a saint who could not tell a lie, but neither is he the evil white supremacist who, along with a bunch of other men, set up a system of government that would enslave anyone who was non-white. This is what children are being taught in many schools today. I can tell you that some of the college students I taught believed that the American system of government was totally evil. But as I stated above, we believe what we have been taught, and that's what the whole point of this video is. We believe what we've been taught. When I eventually began questioning things, I began to hear alternative views. Some of these views were possibly insane, but many were backed by facts that were readily available. Sometimes I shared these views with others, but they were convinced that they knew better. After all, CNN was the most trusted name in news, is it not? Over the years, I've watched as people once considered loony have been vindicated. Now, as our national debt is crushing us and the executive branch of government is dictating national policy, it is important for more of us to begin to question. It may be our children who will have to fix all this, but they'll not be able to without a good education, and they're not being given it in the public school. I'll have some videos out soon that will give you the statistics. Now, as you listen to my videos or read my posts, I'll continue to raise questions about what we have been told. I hope to offer information on homeschooling and also try to help parents who cannot afford to homeschool or send their children to private schools. I also want to help those who have graduated from a failing public school system with poor communication and problem-solving skills by encouraging them to get help to improve these skills. I've been reading employment blogs where people often complain about being fired or not getting hired, etc. So many of these posts are unreadable. These people can't understand why they can't get hired or get a promotion or wind up getting fired. As I read through their posts, I see post after post where grammar and spelling are so bad that it's impossible to follow their thoughts. One individual submitted a post of over 70 words, all in one sentence, without any punctuation, thrown together with words like ands, buts, even, cause, you know. I mean, you could tell that they were upset, but you could really understand probably why they got fired. I can't totally blame our illiterate youth because I have seen the educational system fail them. With each new educational reform over the years, young people have been cheated more and more. I sincerely believe that there is no hope for the American educational system, as I explain in other articles. I believe it would take an act of God to change the American public schools, and since God is not allowed in our schools, that's not going to happen. So my focus will be on trying to help those who have children who want a better life for their children. So I say this. Get your children out of the public schools as soon as possible. If you can't afford it, please get involved in what your children are being taught. Talk to them. Find out what they're feeling about what they're being taught. Give them your unconditional love and let them know that you'll see them through all the problems they're going to be faced in life. And, you know, if a child's secure in his family, it's really hard to put a lot over on them all the time. Okay, but for now, please consider what I originally asked. What do you believe and why do you believe it? Now, if you're a young person, maybe still in school or in college, I can guarantee that you have not been given both sides of any issue other than the reasons that the other side is wrong. Please ask yourself if you can sit down with someone and explain where you stand on issues and why. I challenge all of you, young and old, to find someone with a different point of view than yours and simply have a discussion. Don't get angry. Don't try to force your points on others. Just talk. Give the other person the facts as you know them and listen. Maybe you're wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. But if we talk, our eyes might be open in some way. However, we have to be able to disagree and not be angry with each other. People don't see things the same way. They have different life experiences. There are things that happen to people that make them see things in a totally different light. Not all of us can agree, but we can agree that everybody has the right to their ideas. There used to be a saying, I may not agree with what you say, but I'll defend to the death your right to say it. What happened to that phrase? Okay, one final question. If you believe something because you feel that it is true, I hear that a lot. What if the person who disagrees with you also supports his or her view with the same reason? Well, I feel this is true. Think about that. If you can't offer reasons beside what feels right, there's a good chance you might be wrong. Please like and subscribe and leave comments below. Also, please visit my website at www.yourchildseducation.com. I'm still building the site, so please be patient. There's a lot of articles up there, but I'm writing articles and I'm putting up videos. I'm trying to keep up with things. Also, at this point, I'm not selling anything on the site. It's not a commercial site. So I'm not trying to create a client list or sell you anything. I really want to hear from people. All of us need to discuss. We need to block out the voices on TV or those people that are trying to hem us into one way of looking at things and open our eyes to the possibility. Divided as a nation, we will fall. And we're headed there. All right. Thank you very much. And if you like this, like and subscribe, leave comments. Like I said. Bye-bye.